Most guys never grow into men because they're stuck in what I call the pyramid of pain. And I want to show you how you can get out of it. And I think it is very understandable that most young men are very confused about how to mature into men because they don't get any encouragement or guidance from society whatsoever. In fact, the opposite is happening. They're constantly being brainwashed into thinking they should be either weak and submissive or that they're a-holes that better shut up. So I was not surprised at all when I saw how many guys reacted to my last video, in which I talk about the 3 most dangerous mistakes guys make when they want to have a long, very long nofap streak. And I was really excited to see how it would perform and what people would think of it. I basically slept with one eye open the night I uploaded it. Got up early the next morning and made myself some coffee so I could sit down to check my analytics. And the video performed way better than I expected, and honestly I'm very happy that it reached more people than ever. But I also noticed something that I did not expect at all, and it made me really sad at first, but then I changed my mind about it. You see, YouTube gives you data on how your viewers react to your video, like where they jump off, for example. And I noticed major drops in 2 very telling places, here and here. Both times I talked about facing reality, some cold hard truths about life basically, which means some pain and discomfort. And the thing is, just mentioning this led to 15% of guys jumping off at those 2 points. Which is a lot. And that was what made me sad at first, until I realized that that also means that there's a whole bunch of guys still watching. And that made me very hopeful for the future, because those guys are the ones that are on a path to becoming better and stronger men, and wiser men. But the fact remains, in general, when you mention facing reality, there's still a huge chunk of men that just run away. But let's be clear on one thing, all of us do this all of the time, but in subtle ways. But if you jump off a video the moment someone says let's face reality, we got some training to do. And it also means that being aware of your own tendency to run away from the real pains in your life is key when you want to grow stronger as a man, because it will help you unlock blockages that you have been stuck with for years. And if you've been working on OFAB for a while, you know that we're using pleasure to distract ourselves from our pain. But there's also one thing that most guys never realize, and that is that we even use different levels of pain to distract ourselves from even more levels of pain. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? I'm gonna give you 2 examples from my own life. And the first one is a classic, because at some point I just really wanted to start approaching girls. And I thought my main problem is that I don't know how to talk to them. And I obsessed endlessly about learning all kinds of strategies and techniques to approach girls, to get girls, and to appear confident. And okay, fair enough. It is a good thing if you attack and address the issues in your life, but not so fast, because I call it a classic for a reason. All I was conscious of at the time was my extreme horniness and sometimes my anxiety. Back then there was no way I would accept that I was really anxious in social situations. I just didn't want to feel it. I didn't want to experience it. But at some point I just had to face it and become fully aware of my fear. And once I started exploring that, I more and more realized how intense the pain of my loneliness was that was carrying around with me all this time. And the more I explored that, the more I became aware of the inadequacy I was feeling deep inside. How I felt completely unworthy of expressing my own needs and my own desires. And that I would never burden another person with them, but that I would actually perform perfectly in all kinds of ways so that I would get some level of validation or some level of love, or what I used to call love back then. Quick side note, it's actually dangerous, you could say, that I started solving the level 4 problem with approaching women, because I became very good at it. I learned all the techniques and all these kinds of things. But why is that actually dangerous? Because I carried the entire pyramid of pain into all the relationships that I would be making back then. And that would really destroy or doom the relationship from the get-go. And they would become really difficult because I never really dealt with the underlying issues. So this is one structure. And more guys are becoming aware of it, which is really, really good. But I want to show you one more example, because if you can detect the underlying structure, the underlying patterns, you will realize that this is not happening by accident, and that there's a reason why these pyramids form. And all of us have many of them. And when you understand why you create these structures in your psyche, you will have a much easier time breaking free from them. Another pyramid I had was a really, really weird OCD that I had many years ago. And in my case, having OCD basically meant that I was obsessed with perfectly executing this one task all day long. And the OCD kept my mind very, very distracted and very focused on this one thing. So I never had a chance basically to notice the underlying fear that was going on. But the OCD itself was very stressful as well. And one night it actually became so bad and so intense that I had to face it head on and then figure out a way how to handle it, which literally changed my life on a very deep level. Because something happened that I can't explain in this video because it just would make this video way too long. But basically I healed my OCD in a single night. And I know that that sounds crazy, but I'm very happy to explain the entire process of what exactly happened, but in another video. So subscribe if you want to hear how I healed my OCD in a single night. What is important right now is that I faced the pain and the discomfort of the OCD head on. Because for years I tried pushing it away, but that made it only grow in intensity. And this is what most of us do most of the time. We deny or distract and numb ourselves. And as long as we do that, we can't grow stronger, wiser and more mature. We can't build real mental strength and we'll always stay on the level of a child, always needing external protection. So how do you break the pyramid of pain? Simply put, by learning to accept the pains of life and to move with it or through it, but not pushing it away. And that may sound scary at first, I get it, like you're opening up to all this pain and like taking it on and oh my god, what's gonna happen? But actually it will free you up from a ton of unnecessary pain, which means you will have way more energy dealing with what is actually important instead of wasting it on unnecessary levels of pain. But you can only do that when you become fully aware of the patterns going on in your mind and also your emotions. Just like it is very admirable to become really strong and capable of moving your body, not staying cute like a weak baby. And the same is true for your mind and your mental strength. It's just that most people don't even really know what mental strength even looks like. And even less people know how to train it. Because only if you become a master and become aware of what is really happening with your thoughts and your emotions, will you be able to navigate them. You can't navigate a map that is covered in the fog of war. So being able to clear the fog of war, to cut through the BS, the more superficial levels of the pain pyramid, is what separates the boys from the men.